Bubble Trouble by Margaret, Mahy, and Polly Dunbar. Look, the baby's in the bubble. Little Mabel blew a bubble and it caused a lot of trouble. Such a lot of bubble trouble in a bibble bobble way. For it broke away from Mabel as it bobbed across the table, where it bobbled over baby, and it wafted him away. Have you ever wished you could be inside a bubble? I have. The baby didn't quibble. He began to smile and dribble, for he liked the wibble-wobble of the bubble in the air. But Mabel ran for cover as the bubble bobbed above her, and she shouted out for Mother, who was putting up her hair. She says, "Oh no, the baby's floating away." In her garden, Krista Gribble had begun to cry and cavil at her lazy brother Gravel reading novels in his bed. At the sudden cry of trouble, Mother took off out the double, for the squealing left her reeling, made her terrified and tense. Saw the bubble for a minute with the baby bobbing in it, as it bibbled by the letter box and bobbled across the fence. But she bellowed, "Gracious Gravel," and she grovelled on the gravel when the baby in the bubble bibble bobbled overhead. In a garden folly, Tyball and his jolly mother Sybil sat and played a game of Scrabble, shouting shrilly as they scored. But they both began to babble and to scrabble with the Scrabble, as the baby in the bubble bobbled by the board. They crumbled Mr. Cobble and his wife, a crabby couple. They set out arm in arm to hobble and to squabble down the lane. But the baby in the bubble turned their hobble to a joggle as they raced away like rockets, and they never limped again. Even feeble Mrs. Treble in a muddle with her needle, matching pink and purple patches for a pretty patchwork quilt. When her older sister told her, tossed the quilt across her shoulder as she set off at a totter in her tattered tartan kilt. At the shops, a busy rabble met to gossip and to gabble, started gibbering and goggling as the bubble bobbled by. Mother, hand in hand with Mabel, flew as fast as she was able, very troubled lest the bubble burst or vanish in the sky. Then came Gravel Gribble in his nightshirt with his novel, all about a haunted hovel held high above his head, followed by his sister Krista, though her boots had made a blister. Then came Tibble pulling Sybil with the Scrabble for a sled. After them, the cobble couple came cavorting on the double. Then a jogger, quite a slogger, joined the crowd, who called and coughed. Up above the puzzled people, way up toward the chapel steeple, rose the bubble with the baby, slowly lifting up aloft. There was such a flumadiddle, Mabel huddled in the middle. Canon Dapple left the chapel, followed by the chapel choir, and the treble singer Abel threw an apple core at Mabel as the baby in the bubble bobbled up a little higher. Oh, they giggled and they jiggled until all their brains were boggled as the baby in the bubble rose above the little town. With the problem let us grapple, murmured kindly Canon Dapple, and the problem we must grapple with is bringing baby down. Now let Mabel stand on Abel, who could stand and turn on Tibble, who could stand on Gravel Gribble, who could stand upon the wall, while the people from the shop, they'll stand to catch them if they topple. Then perhaps they'll reach the bubble, saving baby from a fall. But Abel, though a treble, was a rascal and a rebel, fond of getting into trouble when he didn't have to sing. Pushing quickly through the people, Abel clambered up the steeple with nefarious attentions and a pebble in his sling. Abel quietly aimed the pebble past the steeple of the chapel at the baby in the bubble, wibble wobbling way up there. And the pebble burst the bubble, so the future seemed to fizzle for the baby boy who grizzled as he tumbled through the air. What a moment for a mother as her infant plunged above her. There were groans and gasps and gargles from the horror-stricken crowd. Sybil said, "Upon my honor, there's a baby who's a goner." And Krista hissed with emphasis, "It shouldn't be allowed." But Mabel, Tibble, Revel, and the jogger christened Neville didn't quiver, didn't quaver, didn't drivel, shrivel, wilt. But as one they made a swivel with an action firm but civil. They divested Mrs. Tribble of her pretty patchwork quilt. Oh, the calculated catchwork. Baby bounced into the patchwork, where his grizzle turned to giggles and to wiggles of delight. And the people stared, dumbfounded, as he bobbled and rebounded, till the baby boy was grounded, and his mother held him tight. And the people there still prattle. There's lots of tittle-tattle, for the glory in the story, young and old, folk golden gray, of how wicked Treble Abel tribble trouble with his pebble, and how Mabel and some others saved her brother and the day. The end. I love how they saved The baby with a quilt, 'cause I like to quilt.